golf tournament. They raised money last night. I was involved in the auction with John Roebuck and Joe Birch, and we got about $35,000 on live auction stuff. Thanks to all who participated in all of that. And then we got a treat. We got to hear from Vern Lundquist. And I might have said this before, but I go back to the early 80s with Vern Lundquist, and all I can tell you about him is he is a kind, nice guy, and, of course, a great broadcaster with so many great calls. I mean, he was there for Yes Sir when Jack won at 46 and 86 at Augusta National. He was there for Tigers. Have you ever in your life seen anything like that? When the putt on 16, or the chip actually, came like 180 degrees in a circle and then hung on the hole and then fell in, and that really propelled him to winning another green jacket at Augusta. He did the pick six, or the kick six, on the missed field goal in the Auburn-Alabama game. He was involved with the Leitner turnaround jumper that beat Kentucky when Duke went on to I think that was the Elite Eight game that got you to the Final Four, but a classic call. There's so many unbelievable moments that Vern Lundquist was involved with, including the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding saga, and when he did that particular television broadcast on a Wednesday night. I think he said last night they drew $126 million. I believe is the number one rated sports event ever on TV other than a Super Bowl. And it's in, I believe, the top 10 of all time of any television program when Kerrigan and Harding went after it for the Olympic gold medal. So many great stories, and he relived a bunch of them, and a bunch of money was made. So it was a great night last night. Now you got two flights here at Southwind. I'll be playing in the afternoon. Penny's playing in the morning. I hear Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director for the Tigers, is going to play in the afternoon. So it should be a fun time. We're going to talk college football. TJ Reeves is going to join us here in the second segment. We end Monday's last appearance this year for Ted Butler. And finally, the win for Tommy Fleetwood. I'll get to that a little bit more heavily in our medals. But here's a guy who had won $33.5 million on the PGA Tour, had never won an event until yesterday. Don't forget he had won on the European Tour, but this time, after coming so close in Connecticut and coming so close in Memphis, finally he got it at the FedEx Cup, which I don't really quite understand why they call it the playoffs, right? We got three playoffs. This year it was in Memphis, and then it was outside of Baltimore, and then it was in Atlanta. Next year it will again be Memphis first round, third round Atlanta, the championship. In the middle this time it'll be St. Louis at Belle Reve, where they've been actually shifting that middle one around the last few years. But if you've got three events, shouldn't there be some carryover between the three? Like, look, Scotty Scheffler finished tied for third in Memphis, or tied for fourth. One of the two. He won in Baltimore, and he finished again fourth, I think, in a tie this past week. Well, it would seem to me if we had a accumulation of what he did regular season, then playoffs, even if he got just the playoffs, how could he not be the winner? I mean, hands down. And he did get bonus money for the most points. So he did that. But I think they've got to figure something out where the playoffs carry over from 1 to 2 to 3. I don't know the formula. There are smarter people than me. But I know this doesn't seem like a real playoff because each is its own entity. I'm happy for Tommy Fleetwood, and he picked up $10 million. Oh, by the way, I had picked Tommy Fleetwood. So in our contest with Greg Hines and Johnny Lyon and Mickey Barker, who had led the whole way, I end up winning the total event. It's probably not fair that I get $10 million on that final one either. But we got to figure that out as well. So we'll talk with Ted final time. Tigers too deep should be out today I know one thing. They are really deep offensively in the running back room. When you take two guys that were starters at time last year, of course, Sutton Smith got hurt in the first game, but then you had Greg DeWosier, who ended up getting injured, but my gosh, was he a formidable player. You've got the kid that was a freshman last year, Mikael Bodiford, who is a bigger body inside. He kept getting better every game you saw. You got a kid that transferred from middle, and you've got a fifth guy that they've used in practice a bunch. I think they're deep in that room, and I think the offensive line is deep. I think they're deep at linebacker. I'm not so sure the loss of Cortland Marsh doesn't hurt you with depth in the defensive secondary. And I know I heard Ryan Silverfield say last night on his TV show that he feels deep in the defensive line. I've got to see that to believe it, but it sure seems like he's pretty confident in both sides of the ball. He's got a kicker that is a transfer that apparently was like 13 of 16, has some depth of range, so that looks like it'll be pretty solid. He's got a new freshman punter. Special teams should be pretty good, especially if you've got Smith or DeWosier back on those kick returns. I think all these facets are pretty darn good, and they'll get the first test. It's not long now. He's got his final preseason, really game week, press conference today. And then here we go. Saturday, 3:30, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It's all going to be on the line. Can't wait for that. So now we got everything set. And, on Mondays, Landon Schmidt and I, we give out our precious medals and our not-so-precious medals. I will begin. I got to give Scotty Scheffler a bronze. So he finishes tied for fourth. But that's really not why I'm giving him the medal. I'm giving him a medal for this. He has now finished in his last 14 consecutive tournaments. Scotty Scheffler has finished no worse than 8th. So they count it by top 10s. He's had 14 straight top 10s. That ties Jack Nicklaus's longest streak 50 years ago, or in that neighborhood in the 70s. Nicklaus had won, had a streak where he'd won in the top 10 14 straight weeks, and now Scheffler has tied it. I guess that'll carry over into next year. As long as he continues this run, he may shatter that thing with his consistency. I'm going to give a bronze medal to Germantown High School. They lined up against their biggest rival, down the street neighbor. It's a bit of a ways down the street, but Houston High School. Houston had beaten them the last few years. They couldn't beat the Mustangs. Suddenly the Red Devils lived up to their number one billing, and they put a lot of points on the board, and they beat Houston. Now, they're not in the same district anymore, so that really is not a damaging total loss for Houston. And their coach talked about that prior to the game, that you can't be up too high or too low this first game, and you can make this up because they're no longer in the same district. But I got a feeling we'll see them again in the playoffs. That was one of the teams, because I think there were 5 dandy dozen teams that lost first week, Lausanne being one of them. How about Central beating Melrose? There's another one that was a surprise. So there were some surprises, but not Germantown High School. They lived up to the billing. I'm going to give one silver medal to Cal Raleigh, the great catcher for the Seattle Mariners, who, by the way, are very much in the hunt for a wild card spot. Cal Raleigh hit home run number 48, and then he hit home run 49, which breaks the record for home runs in a single season by a major league catcher. So I hope Cal Raleigh gets at least one more. I'd love to see him get 11 more and get to 60. Wouldn't that be a story? But now Cal Raleigh owns the record with 49 home runs, most in a single season by a catcher. I got to give a silver medal to the Memphis women's soccer team. They beat Vandy 1-0 last night. That means they have already beaten 2 ranked teams. They knocked off Ole Miss, too. They are 4-0. That is 4-0, by the way, for the second year in a row and the fourth time in program history. Brooks Monaghan, I've mentioned this all along. You look at record books, you look at win percentage, you look at conference championships, you look at NCAA appearances. He's the greatest coach in the school's history in his 26th year, right there at the U of M campus. And now 4-0, and their ranking, because Vandy was 11, I believe the Tigers were 14. They got to be moving up in the polls. And then the gold medal. I only give one. That's got to be to Tommy Fleetwood in his, I'm trying to remember how many. I think it was his 164th start on the PGA Tour. 164 starts. He'd already made $33.5 million, but he never won a tournament. He won 7 times in Europe. And he came close in Hartford at the Travelers. Came ever so close here and really gave it away. Had a lead in the middle of the fairway on 16 and didn't birdie the hole, and that cost him. But he came through with every clutch shot, even had a bogey down the stretch and overcame it with consecutive birdies after the bogey. Wins going away by 3, wins the FedEx Cup, wins $10 million. So now he's made $43.5 million on the PGA Tour. It's a good life if you're Tommy Fleetwood, and he is a great guy. I've never seen a European player who'd never won capture the fancy of all golf fans around the world. And he was the favorite here, even against American players. He was the favorite. It was interesting, Justin Rose and Spawn in that playoff when the chance of USA came out. But I think going into that round, everybody wanted Tommy Fleetwood to get his maiden victory right here. Well, it didn't happen. They were cheering for him yesterday. But they won't be cheering for him in 3 weeks when the Ryder Cup happens. That is for sure. So let's smile for Tommy Fleetwood today, because he gets the gold medal and the $10 million FedEx Cup reward. Landon Schmidt, give me your good stuff.
All right, I'm going to get started. I have 2 bronze medals. One of them is they're both going to Browns QBs in their preseason game. The first one going to Joe Flacco, who went 9 for 10, 71 yards and a TD. About played as perfect as you possibly could. As a Browns QB and in the preseason for just doing one drive. And the other bronze medal is going to go to Dylan Gabriel, who went 12 for 19, 129 yards and a touchdown. He looked really comfortable out there, firing the rock, no problems. He looked real comfortable in the pocket, looked really, really good for the Browns in their win over the Rams. And I don't know if we do honorable mentions, but I just feel like I have to give at least one, and that's going to be to Dresser Wynn for the Rams. Our little kind of hometown guy over here, played a year at Briarcrest for baseball, was the quarterback for the Memphis Showboats that did really well, and is now on the roster, hopefully to making that 53-man roster for the LA Rams. Now they are. He went 15 for 23, 190 yards, touchdown. Looked really good out there. Granted, it is preseason, but hey, you still got to give medals where medals are due. My silver medal is going to go to my college football team, who won big this past weekend, and that's the University of Hawaii over Stanford. And,
whoa!